Greetings and salutations and welcome once again to the Capeless Crusaders live at the time via the internet. My name is, of course, David Barry at Dr. Barry on varying social media platforms. I am joined this beautiful afternoon before it hits 103 in 3 days. I am joined by none other than my podcast partner of 7 years.
7. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. This is the Azorian one, Anthony Esteves.
Yeah, you got equal parts nerd dad and ripped buff dad. Yeah, we get it.
You're the known for.
Yeah, you're the perfect package. Okay, whatever. We understand. So on this episode, first off, we're not going to go around the horn.
Nope.
No, we're not going to talk about the comics we've been reading this week.
No.
We're not going to talk about the news. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do one goddamn thing. That one motherfucking thing we are doing is recording an interview with the legend himself.
What?
The creator of none other than Drax, the Destroyer, Gamora, Thanos, Shang-Chi. That's right. Jim Starlin is on today's episode.
Booyah!
The man who revolutionized the cosmic Marvel universe in the 70s and 80s. The Adam Warlock that you know, the Captain Marvel that you know is because of this man. The Thanos that you know is literally because of this man. He's on this episode, and he is joined by his partner in crime, Jaime Jameson, who is inking his new book, and that is Dreadstar Returns. So Dreadstar, a character created by Jim, he said the rights to it for 40 years. And he came out with a new book after he thought he was done with comics. He had an injury. We talk about in the interview. He thought he was done, and he's back. And Dreadstar is as good as ever. It's all under him. It's fantastic. So get ready for this interview with Jim Starlin and Jaime Jameson. We are joined now by legendary comic writer, creator Jim Starlin. It's an absolute honor. And inker Jaime Jameson. First off, thank you for coming on and giving us the time of day, coming in to chat. So first off, I can't lie. I'm gonna give this to you up front. You've probably gotten it before. I might fanboy just a little bit. I can't help it. Your career is an illustrious one, and I got a lot of it up there, so it's hard not to sometimes,
Are you gonna have me poking and staring at your bookshelf?
Okay, I have really good eyes on myself.
I'm about to say, I could take you up there to the 4 Infinity Gauntlets if you want to see those. Every iteration of them. I even got the Iron Man up there too. So yeah, again, thank you for coming in to talk about your new old book, I guess we could say, Dreadstar, and talk a little bit about your career. So we're just gonna go off, Jim. Give us, for the uninitiated, your career is a great one. How did it start? Where did it start? And give us a little bit of a rundown.
Well, my career or Dreadstar?
Let's start with your career, and then we'll go into Dreadstar.
Okay, my career started off in 71 or 2 after I got out of the service. Went up to Marvel, got a job sort of as their de facto art director, which they never had before. John Romita replaced me when I started drawing comic books. Nice. Been doing comic books since then. Worked on things like Captain Marvel, Warlock, brought Thanos into the Marvel universe along with Drax and Gamora and the Infinity Gauntlet.
No big deal, just Thanos.
little things.
Big purple guy.
Purple guy. He's sitting over here grinning at me right at the moment, but that's another story. Basically been doing it since then, and started doing Dreadstar apparently 40 years ago, from what I was informed earlier today.
Wow.
Horrified her that she's hanging out with somebody that old. And then we've been working on this together for the last year or so during the pandemic. We finally got copies of it the other day. Dreadstar Returns is now a reality, and those who did the Kickstarter should be expecting it in the mail, and you who did not can now go to ominouspress.com
Beautiful.
And order copies of it, and we will eventually get it into the bookstores, but that process is still in the process.
Right.
So start asking questions. I've just run out of
No, that's great. Well, so right off the bat, the Dreadstar title. So you did Dreadstar. It was an imprint of Marvel, right?
Epic Illustrated is where it started off, and then when they did the Epic comic line, it became their first comic book because I had the story ready to go, and they didn't have anything else.
Right.
Basically, went from Marvel and Epic to later on to Malibu. Short stint on reprints on through slave labor. Not Malibu, went to First to begin with, and then later on, Peter David and Ernie Colon did a female version of Dreadstar for Malibu. Now did the omnibus version of 1,500 pages of the original Dreadstar material, reprinted and remastered for the omnibus, and that led into this book, which we finally have. And Jamie and I are now working on the next Dreadstar book, which is called Dreadstar versus the Inevitable.
Nice. Well, and so I feel like you sometimes hear horror stories from comic creators that they made something and then they lose the rights to it for whatever reason. How did you manage to keep Dreadstar and be able to keep making it through the years without any issue?
It depends on how you're working. I mean, I have a lot of characters like Thanos and Drax and Gamora, who are Marvel properties that I created that are now Marvel properties, and other people are doing them. Dreadstar, I kept the copyright from the beginning because that's what Epic Illustrated was about. It was sort of a heavy metal type magazine.
Okay.
There was also a change in the copyright law around that time where the practice of forcing the creators to sign away their rights when they signed the back of the check to endorse it became illegal. That's how everybody lost their rights to start off with. So I kept it just because I wouldn't give it away. And that's what the change in the copyright law said, that you had to specifically sign it away, and I wouldn't do that. And so Dreadstar has been my baby ever since, off and on.
That's awesome. We're glad you still have it, because we got to check out the Dreadstar Returns. It was great. It was fantastic. As I was always a big fan of your cosmic stuff with everything from Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock and Thanos and Drax. Like the cosmic time in Marvel is some of my favorite comics that I've got up there, and it inspired so much of the stuff that I would continue to go on. So I'm really glad you got to hold on to Dreadstar, because it has that epic cosmic feel. I really was really enjoying it. Now, Jamie, tell us about your career. How did you get into comics? Because we got your breakdown, and you're all over. You're doing all kinds of stuff
somewhere in different places.
Many doors.
Oh yeah. No, comic wise, I mean, I grew up with comics. I loved comics. I was in love with Spider-Man growing up. I actually met Scott Hampton. I was at a Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con years back, and I was talking to him about, we're actually talking about Shakespeare at the time. And something brought up, we changed subjects and started talking about Neil Gaiman stuff that he had worked on. And he was like, well, I was like, American Gods was just so incredible. I mean, it's definitely very, I was just like, that would be a great epic graphic novel. And it was like, actually, it just so happens that I am going to be working on that. And I was like, what? And he was like, well, I do need female model to portray some of the characters. And when he realized I actually do photography and like such, I worked with Scott Hampton doing a lot of the photography. I was the lead. Laura Moon actually is definitely the identical version of me, and the Zoria on the cover is obviously me. We realized I was good at the layout parts and capturing the stuff in the layout. So I used him, and I take pictures, and we went to location. I went to a lot of locations like House on the Rock, and the shot that water tower scene is in the building I worked in Brooklyn. There's actual water tower. So there were like real shots and such. And then started working with some other folks going forward, and skip down to Keith Giffen, leave out the boring stuff, was inking Keith Giffen, and, started harassing this one, and
really harassing me too for a sketch. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a Thanos. Mm-mm. She wanted a sketch of Dr. Doom.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Nice.
tried blowing her off for a long time, but she's very persistent. She wouldn't leave me alone. And eventually I sat down and did the sketch, and that led directly to me coming back to drawing.
Well, so on that note, what happened that you left? You thought you were going to retire because you hurt your hand. Is that right?
Okay, this is where Jamie winches on camera. I had an accident with a soda stream maker where compressed air accident, and I blew about an inch deep crater in my hand.
Wow.
It doesn't show too much on camera.
No.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I couldn't really hold a pencil any longer than 5 minutes without my whole hand cramping up.
Oh.
And I did about 3 years of, I'll say this properly this time, squeezing rubber balls and doing other hand exercises and that. And I didn't realize it was improving. And later I worked with a stylist on doing the remastering of Dreadstar on the computer. And that was obviously helping the hand along. So when Jamie harassed me into doing Dr. Doom drawing for her, I was very surprised that I got it done without my hand cramping up. And after that, I did a few more convention sketches, which I asked her to ink because she was working with Keith and he didn't show up at this one convention.
And I didn't plan on him not showing up, so I didn't bring any prints. I was like, I'm literally going to be just here doing nothing except fawning, I guess. I'll just walk around.
So I put her to work so I'd keep her out of the pool halls.
Yeah.
And I liked what she did, and she inked those drawings, which I liked. And then we did a couple posters and Metalman variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I decided it was time to go back to Dreadstar, there was no way this hand was going to work well enough to ink 100 pages. So I enlisted her and got her out of the pool halls, like I said. And she has been working with me for the past year under not the easiest circumstances. This has been an epic journey in many different ways. 20 some odd pages into the inking, she contracted her first dose of COVID-19, and followed it up a few months later with a second bout of it.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to lose her a number of times. She survived. She finished the job, only 4 days late.
Only 4 days late?
Understandably.
Throughout the entire convalescence, going, I know you're dying, but can you ink another page so I have something to color?
Oh yeah, no, it was all about the coloring. It's like I got to stop penciling. I'm getting bored of penciling. I need to color something. I want to color. It's like
I'm picturing Jim as she's laying on the bed, just heavy breathing, and he's just trying to slide a pen into her hand and then putting the paper
he was in
right
New
on.
York.
Oh,
He was in New York.
This is all harassed over the phone.
I'm in California. He's in New York, and he's like, so sometimes we'd FaceTime if I wasn't barfing my brains out or, like completely unconscious. And he'd be like, yeah, I'd be like crying, the bad days were really bad, especially if you start feeling a little better. And then it's just like, wow. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. Like, I hear you. I know you can't. So, but you're going to finish that page tonight and get it to me tomorrow so I can color, right? I mean,
and I'm sending you 10 more tomorrow.
Yeah, just blow me off. Just like, like whatever I'm saying. Yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry. Yeah, just give me a page tomorrow.
Jamie, I see you threw up. I see that. But also right over there's a paper and a pen. And if you could.
Yes. You do have a lap board, don't you?
I see a paintbrush. Yeah, John Romita Seniors.
There you go. Well, I can honestly say the book, it doesn't look like you guys were going through all of this. It looks great. Really?
Not that one page. There's one page in particular that really, I don't know. I'm going to fight you on that one.
Maybe there is.
Page.
I wasn't going to come in here and say, hey, this page was awful. Were you sick or something? I'm not going to come at you with that.
Page 45 could have been a little bit.
45.
I'm kidding.
Who knows?
Here we go.
Pick a random page.
Too far. Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah.
Do you got one you don't like?
Does that not look a little like maybe I might have been sick while working?
This is the vomit page.
The original art of that is going to go for more.
I think
We're going to post that as the Corona vomit page.
This one has my Corona DNA.
There you go. It's on there.
This interview is going downhill really fast.
This is good. This is the fun stuff. It's learning about all the vomit. I appreciate it.
Well, going back to when both of you started out, what was it about the comic book industry that made you want to be a part of it? Like, you, more than just being a fan of it, wanting to actually be in it?
For me, it was, I was being raised in Detroit, which was 1950s a cultural wasteland. Quite literally, the big show at the art museum was the folks who designed the cars showing their drawings for futuristic cars. I discovered comic books early on, and somewhere along the line in one of the adventure or action comics, Lee Elias, who was drawing Green Lantern, or Green Arrow rather, snuck his signature in somewhere on the background within the grass and that. And it hit me that people actually do this for a living. And from about 8 years old on, I decided that's what I wanted to do. And my father worked at Chrysler, and he thought one of his, he was a draftsman, and he thought one of his fringe benefits was at the end of the day, stealing as much tracing paper, masking tape, and number 2 pencils as he could jam into his briefcase and walk out safely with. And he was going to use it for his woodworking hobby, but I took it and I started tracing off the characters in the comic books. And that's how I started drawing. That was my schooling, basically, tracing off comics and eventually running out of tracing paper and starting to draw them regularly. Yeah.
And Jamie, for you, it was your love for Spider-Man. What led from there?
Well, I mean, I was a kid with Spider-Man. No, I didn't expect to go into comics. If you asked me 10 years ago or 12 years ago that I'd be doing this, I'd laugh. I'd probably really laugh and like hysterically, probably tears coming out my eyes. Like, that's funny. But it just kind of happened. Just kind of fell into it, and it just was a path.
Music was your love. I've heard a lot of her recordings. She has a lovely voice.
Acting and music was my first love. Acting was always my very first love, and then reading, and then music followed behind that. But I love art, so it just seemed a natural, path that I just am going along with. I love it too. It's awesome.
And Jim, what inspired the Dreadstar character as well as the entire story itself?
Well, it started off in Epic Illustrated. It was going to be a fairy tale about Vietnam. And it was going to be really a fairy tale because I had just gotten done working at Ralph Bakshi's studio on Wizards and working with Mike Flug and being inspired by these beautiful watercolor paintings he was doing for what was going to be a Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, that they were going to do afterwards. But fairy tales are not my thing, and so it very quickly turned into sci-fi instead of fairy tales. And it was basically about, when you're young, you think that everything should be torn down and start over right from the beginning. Outgrown that outlook on life, but at that time, that's what the book was about, that it would be better just to let everything go boom and then start over again. And that's where Dreadstar started from. And basically, I come to the conclusion he's an anarchist without a second act. He's very good at breaking things, but not very good about living in a society that actually has to function. And so that's been the place to spring off from him ever since then.
Right. Yeah. And you definitely get that with the book where he's the one freeing the world, but he's not doing really much after that. He's letting.
Yeah, he had a stint as a cop after the instrumentality war, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
He ended up getting fired.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, he's a hero freeing people. He doesn't want to be policing.
They're a bunch of misfits, basically, outcast misfits that all work well together.
But that was kind of a nice thing about doing the return of the Dreadstar, because I had that 20 years between jobs, and I wanted that time lapse to go with the characters. And
right.
So when we find Dreadstar in Dreadstar Returns, he has found a place where he can work in society and use those destructive tendencies he has in a constructive way,
Right.
which amused the hell out of me. I don't know if the readers got that or not, but I had fun putting him in that position.
Well, I did enjoy. I couldn't help but notice that early on in the very beginning, this evil king seems to resemble a certain someone in our actual something like that. Yeah,
Had a hard. Yeah, couldn't place it.
Blonde hair.
I'm missing them entire. There he is.
Yeah,
Yep.
it looks familiar. It looks really familiar.
A specific look to him.
Can't put my finger on it though.
Who knows? Who's to say? We don't want to read too much.
He used one of my characters in a political ad, and I figured that made him fair game.
There it is.
And after the coronavirus and the mishandling he and his administration did with it, and the countless lives, the uncountable lives.
You almost lost your ink?
I almost lost my inker because of the mishandling. Yeah. So I figured he was fair game, and if anybody objects to his head being on a stick, well, that's too bad.
I couldn't help, as reading those pages, I read them like this.
Nice. You watch regular show, don't you?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, we definitely, he sent me that because he started before I did, and he's like, wait, he's like, I'm seeing some similarities, and as soon as I got it, with everything, I was like, yeah, that is exactly how a lot of, and it fits, fits
with
well.
Laughing emojis, with laughing emojis,
with laughing emojis, because it fits well into sci-fi, because how bizarre and insane this tyrannical person is. Like, it fits in a sci-fi story that we had to deal with this person and this whole plague that they let run rampant. Like, it was very well done.
And then you find out that that's just a throwaway at the beginning of the story. It's not even the real story.
No, that's not even it. If only
it's a cosmic, unrequited love story, and we start off with chopping off a dictator's head.
As we should.
As all good stories should. So now you mentioned it earlier. So initially, Dreadstar Returns was the Kickstarter, and now going forward, are we looking at crowdfunding again, or are we going through traditional routes, or what's next?
I think we'll be doing crowdfunding from now on. It's the pamphlet books used to be the way that the companies financed putting together a good edition, a hardcover edition of something. I don't want to work for the majors any longer. I want to work on Dreadstar. Dreadstar and the Kickstarter seem to work well together. Ron Mars and the folks up at Ominous have been putting together an excellent package for me. They're good people to work with.
They did a great job on the book. I mean,
as you've seen, we already have a second book in the works.
Right.
Dreadstar versus the Inevitable. I'm 60 pages into the pencils and scripts. Jamie's.
I won't tell him where I am in these.
Yeah, okay. We'll keep that a secret.
He got to start while I was still inking and I was sick, so I'm not up to 60.
Head start. He has a head start.
Yeah,
she's a little sensitive on this matter.
You have a great excuse. You have a really good reason for where you're at.
Valid.
So that's awesome. Yeah, we've learned, especially with 2020 and everything, like going the crowdsourcing route. It's been great. It's a way to immediately just connect directly with people, like you said. Like, when you're able to control your story, we're able to get what you actually wanted to put out there. Like, it's not doesn't have any influence on it, and not having the resources of a massive corporation. Obviously, it's got its downsides with stuff like Kickstarter, and we just learned about from the guys in Slow City Blues. Zoop is another one. Yeah, the guy,
I was just thinking about Zoop when you said it.
We just heard, and then stuff like TKO Presents, the way they change the direct, they drop all the volumes at once and the floppies. Like, it's not monthly, you just get it all at once. Like, the industry is like changing that regard, and we love it. It's great because everyone's been doing the monthly thing for so long. Just to be able to see these hardbacks, these volumes, they look awesome. So we're glad that crowdfunding is working, especially for someone like you with a legendary career that, obviously when people think Jim Starlin, they think Thanos, they think
I'll do it myself.
We think of these I don't know. We think Josh Brolin sometimes, but still, like, to be able to get your vision in Dreadstar, we're fantastic. We're really excited that we got.
It's quite a bit of it's very freeing to not have some editor who's had 6 months of experience telling you that you're doing it wrong We go, okay, how would you think I should be doing this?
Yeah.
Well, random. Did you approve of Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos?
He wasn't on my radar at all, and now I can't imagine anybody else doing it.
Exactly.
I was thinking Idris Elba was a voiceover or something like that. Yeah, he would have been good on that. Fortunately, they didn't listen to me. Not that anyone even asked, but
Right.
And the guy from Goonies knocks it out of the park.
yeah.
It's I did not see him playing when they announced that he was going to be playing Thanos. I was like, oh no. But he nailed it. I mean, he did an incredible job. And he was not my crush during the Goonies.
No, he wasn't? Oh.
No, it was the other kid.
So now, so since so many of your creations have been turned into movies, I mean, because you're listed as a co-creator of Shang-Chi, right?
Yes,
with
Steve
Englehart?
Englehart and I created together.
So you've got, I mean, so many of your creations are seeing the big screen now. Dreadstar, any plans to go that route, or are you just going comic route all the way?
We're talking to some folks right now. I don't see it going the big screen route. It's too complex of a story to do that. You can't fit it into one 2 hour movie. It's got to be over a long distance
TV
time.
series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they are doing series now that are reminiscent of what Dreadstar is, and so if they can do these, they can do Dreadstar now technologically.
Yeah. When are the auditions for Dreadstar?
He's gonna dye his hair blonde. Here we go.
I'll do it. I'll make it happen.
Well, that's fantastic.
Well, there's another blonde guy here who might try.
He might just do it.
Okay, you get it.
I think it's kind
I'll wig up for the part.
There you go. Well, that's
dead guy
great.
number 2. Fine.
Dead guy number 2. You'll play the king anyway. So thank you for coming on and talking about Dreadstar and letting giving us a second to chat. And like I said, not to fanboy out too hard. I'm still staring at my Infinity Gauntlets. I'm gonna be an adult and not bring them down here.
I'm very proud of David. He could have easily gone the Chris Farley sketch from SNL when he interviewed Paul McCartney. He could have easily been that today, but he didn't.
Yeah, I did not. I'm trying not to go that route too much. So again, thank you for coming on. And where can we find more about you guys, social media, and Dreadstar itself?
Well, as I said before, the book can be purchased at ominouspress.com through them. I'm on Facebook and Instagram under my name. I try to add when I can. I have been remiss over the last year because I haven't been doing anything but working.
Yeah.
Your show and every other interview that we do will be on a link there. So that's the way to find it. And beautiful. Jamie,
I'm on Instagram as James Jameson because I was serious. People used to call me James until these guys, and then it's Jamie. So we'll go with James Jameson on Instagram. And my Facebook is a little more complex, but if you put in James Jameson, I'll pop up. And then I'm also on Twitter. I think it's James Jameson as well. It might be Jamie Jameson. It's one of those.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I'm there.
They'll find you.
Yeah, we'll
spelled like Jaime though, so not to confuse people even worse.
My buddy here, Esteves, he'll track it down. He's a wizard at finding social media accounts and people, and we'll get it out there. So again, thank you for coming on. We really enjoyed Dreadstar, and we're looking forward to more.
All right,
awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
Wow,
that happened.
Boom. Shit.
It's beautiful.
That's a beautiful thing. I did not bust out any Infinity Gauntlets that whole episode.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
I'm an adult.
He did it.
Talking to a comic book man in my comic book podcast surrounded by comic books. I am an adult. But yeah, so that was wow. Thank you to Jim Starlin.
Thank you so much.
And James Jameson, the Jim. That's what I should have just said the whole episode. Jim Jamma.
I was going to say Jobin from I love you, man.
And I went Fairly Odd Parents. I went Doug Dimmadome over the Dimmadome. So yes, huge thanks to Jim and Jamie for coming on, talking about Dreadstar, talking about their careers. Dreadstar is available. You can get it from Ominous Press. You can check it out on their website. It's going to be in stores soon. They're working on another volume. He's already, what did he say, 60 pages deep? Like, he's going. This man, he thought he was done, and he is not. He is in his 70s. He started in the 1970s, and he is going.
Yes, he is.
Full bore, and he's still creating. He's writing. He's drawing. It's fantastic. So check it out. Talk to you if you can't get it online, or you want to support your local comic book store and try to get a copy. Let them know to see about getting it in their shop. And that's been our interview. How you feeling, man?
It feels good. Jim Starlin is in our catalog of episodes.
Yeah. Friend of the show.
We can say that
Jim
now.
Starlin, creator of Thanos.
Oh, it's nice. It's nice.
It's nice.
We're just looking around at audience.
I'm just looking at the vacuum cleaner over here, and
we're doing the Hogan NWO backwards walk up the ramp.
Yeah, yeah. And let me get my Infinity Gauntlet and play it like a guitar and spray paint.
I'm gonna get my Infinity Gauntlet bottle opener and just like tap it on my hand like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so hey, thanks for listening. Thanks as always. Thanks for following and subscribing and rating and reviewing if you'd like on any social media platform. I'm gonna go have a cigarette, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know what's left.
I got a cigar.
Let's check that one off the box. So for David Barry, I am joined as always by
Jim Starlin is inevitable. This is the Azorian one, Anthony Esteves.
And he liked Josh Brolin, for the record. He did.
Yes.
It wasn't his first choice, but he loved him. So, hey, thanks for hanging out. For the Nerd On family, for the Capeless Crusaders, a good night.
Good night.